Okay. So now, first of all, I'd like to thank the opportunity for being here. When I got the invitation, I was a little bit scared because I'm approaching my 3rd month in this job. And when I was asked to do something related to what the impact of extension for our team, that was a little bit scary. And then Hitler said, no, that's what we want. We want to hear from you what you have learned so far and what your goals are within extension. So yeah, I'm going to give a brief presentation and then Gary's going to take the lead. So as you guys know, we are the water and integrated cropping systems, or we usually name ourselves WICS team. Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about my background because that's one of the options. So I was born in Brazil, and then I have a bachelor's degree in agronomy and a master's and PhD in ag systems engineering. And I focused my entire career on irrigation scheduling, precision irrigation. For the past 3 years before joining Nebraska Extension, I was working in Auburn University in Alabama, doing my postdoc, and is where I started working with extension. So I was working for these extension specialists in Alabama, and is where I really found where I want to be. And here I am for Nebraska Extension. So this is I would say everyone that is related to the WICS team. I'm located, let me put my mouse here. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm located here. This is my accountability region. So I cover Platte, Boone, and Nance counties. This is the entire team that works together. And then I was thinking all the areas that we have been working on with farmers, and these are the ones that came to my mind that I know that we're working on. We have a new group that are working with precision ag, which is Luan, that has recently joined the team. And then we have Nate Dorsey, and then we have a great team of entomologists, people that are either local or statewide, working with weed control, disease, and this is something that a lot of extension educators are working on with the cover crop and overall crop management. So I was thinking, okay, so far being here for almost 3 months, what I have learned that we do a lot, and we do a lot most related to how we can manage our crops in a daily basis. And I put together some of the field days that was either conducted and will be conducted soon during the growing season. So I have here the Brazil groundwater management field days that happen in July 30th. Happen on June 30th. We have the soybean management field days that's going to happen in 4 locations within eastern Nebraska. And we're going to have the wheat and nitrogen management field days. We're going to have several booths at the Husker Harvest Day, and then several other activities that happen. It can be either a one-to-one farmer or some farmers focus groups that is related to several crop management for the major crops, for the row crops here in Nebraska. And then I was thinking, and that's something that I've been trying to do extension, and that's something that since when I got here, I'm trying my best to find ways that we can do extension, and then we can track down our impact, and we know that we are impactful. There are several ways we can do that, and that's one of the ways that I was thinking, and I've been sharing this with few extension educators, is that doing the traditional way of extension is good, but sometimes that does not translate into impact. So the opportunity that I had to work in Auburn in Auburn University, my former professor, she was really into finding ways that we could do extension in a different way. And one of the ways will be trying to find group of people that will be working, a group of farmers or clients that will be working together. And then from that group, we grow with more and more groups. instead of just coming to the traditional way of just stage that we come, we do the presentation, and then we leave. So the idea here, just brought a kind of a schematic of what I had in mind. And let's say I'm looking at one of my counties, and then I'm gonna find one key farmer or grower that wants to improve his irrigation management or his irrigation scheduling. And then here I gave the example of A1, just in this individual A1. And then I bring few farmers, only few, not everyone, that are neighbors, that are close by, that they want to learn more about irrigation management. And what I do here, I'm gonna be a facilitator. I'm not gonna be talking just myself. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring that key farmer and ask him to create a conversation. I'm going to just facilitate by asking questions and make sure that the other the key individuals are the neighbors and other growers are trying to get more and more information. And from that, then we have one of the farmers that was invited to join and participate of that farmers focus group. He can be the next one that is going to create another group of farmers. And then again, we are going to be only the facilitators. We're not going to be there just presenting and showing what is right or what is wrong. We're just going to discuss. So we're going to have more farmers that are going to relate to their peers and trying to engage on doing a better irrigation scheduling, because they're going to change, they're going to increase knowledge. They're going to see that they can benefit from changing a little bit here and there on their daily activities. And then at the end goal is that all the farmers starts to relate to each other, and that system grows little by little. Again, it's just one thing that I have in mind that I believe is gonna work, but this takes time. I have to do a lot of studying from my end to know how am I gonna create those farmers focus group, what type of activities I'm gonna bring on, and make sure that I can track down all those I'll say steps during those activities, and also that I know that from one farmer in my first year that I work on, at the end of my third year, now I have 10 farmers that are doing better irrigation scheduling. If that's the case, now I know that I have an impact. I can track down that. All right, and some of the, I would say that is new, at least for our WICS team, that are part of the new employees, excuse me, this was employees. So Darren Runnick and Darren Redfarm, they are the supervisors for the WICS teams, and we are having these monthly meetings that we're trying to find ways we do extension better, how we can do this better, and how we can do our job in that we are going to track down better what we do. So with that said, as a quick presentation, I'll ask Gary to take the lead. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bruno, and thank you, the folks of NACEB, for having us on today. We really appreciate the job that you do for extension across the state. Without you, we'd probably get lost in the clutter and we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Going on with a little bit of what Bruno said about WICS, a little bit more about it. We are an integrated cropping systems and water, but it's not just limited to that. We have the folks from the economic side. So the growers grow the crops. Well, now they need to know how to market them. We work with the livestock people. Livestock produce waste. That's a resource. How do we utilize that resource properly, safely, and environmentally? So we work with the livestock people. Most of us probably work with the 4-H people, either at the county fairs, state fair, Husker harvest days. So we cover a broad swath across the state with everything that we do. A little more on the WICS, a few of the things that most of these educators do within this group. We do the pesticide and chemigation safety training across the state for all of our clients who need to keep their licenses current or get a new license so that they can use pesticides properly and apply pesticides through the pivots and chemicals through the pivots safely. We do on-farm research. on-farm research. That really started in 1990. Since 1990, we've had over 600 trials across the state. These are not necessarily what an educator wants to do. This is what the client or the grower wants to do. They have a question. They would like to have an answer. So we set up the proper protocols so that we can set up an experimental plots on their farm. We like to have that for a minimum of 2 years, preferably 3. Sometimes it goes into 4, so that the data that we get is valid and that the grower can take that and look at that and hopefully have his question answered. And then maybe have another question he'll want asked that we'll still work with and try and find the answer for that. These on-farm research projects, they cover corn, soybeans, and dry beans, and I'm sure other crops across the state. Bruno mentioned the cover crops. That is a big thing that we're starting to get into. The other thing that we're working on very strongly is soil health and nitrogen management across the state. Those are 2 big things that really have an interest with our growers, and we certainly want to keep the nitrogen out of our groundwater as best we can. And so that is one of the main topics that we are focused on. Irrigation water management, that'll vary across the state. It's much different in Bruno's area than where I'm at, which is out at the Panhandle Research and Extension Center in Scottsbluff. And I forgot to mention, I cover the whole Panhandle, but I have 2 other extension educators in the crops and water, Karen and DeBoer out of Sydney and John Thomas out of Alliance. And we all work together on various projects out here. Other things that WICS does, we do the crop production clinics every year, first part of the year across the state. Those are there to help the growers up to date on the most recent research developments, maybe changes in laws, things like that. We want to bring them up to date, keep them current. One of the few of the other programs, one that's really been successful for the West Central in North Platte, right where you folks are at today, is the TAPS program. Extension Agent Chuck Burr there. He started that with Darren Rudnick, and it has been very successful. It's so successful that other universities have copied it and ran with it. So basically what that is, they have the means and the ability. They encourage growers, businesses, other extension educators to take part. They are given a small plot of land under this irrigation system. You pick the corn variety you want, you determine when you want it planted, you determine the fertilization that you want, when to irrigate, how much to irrigate. Then they take yield, but it doesn't end there. You have to determine when you're going to market it. Do you want to insure that crop? Now, a lot of this is hypothetical on the end, but they still take the yields. They still do everything that those groups or that individual wants to do. And then at the end, they determine, who had the best crop, best yield. Economically, did they market their products properly? Did they make the most money? And that's the bottom line. So that has been very successful. Out here at the Panhandle, things are a little different for us. We are what we call high and dry. We're probably 2,000 feet or better higher than most of the rest of the state. For every 25 to 30 miles, if you start at the Wyoming-Nebraska border and head east, you will gain 1 inch of precipitation. So out here in the Panhandle, our average precipitation is 14 to 16 inches per year. So irrigation water management is a big must for us. It does pose some challenges as surface water in this state is managed by the Department of Natural Resources. Groundwater is managed by the 23 NRDs or natural resource districts across the state. But then here in the Panhandle, we have Bureau of Reclamation water. So that's federal water. So that doesn't fall under the surface water that the rest of the state falls under. So it's got its own separate set of rules. So it is a challenge to get growers to manage their water. One of the things that Dr. Shin Chow, our water specialist out here at the center, he started this a little over 3 years ago, was to develop a website. And he started with about 5 growers, and now it's grown to about 20, I believe, where he put water sensors out under their pivots and other sensors as the growers wanted. And the growers could get real-time data over the internet, looking at their fields, but not just their fields, but the other growers' fields, to see how they were managing their water. And so it is hoped, and it is starting to become a reality, that growers learn best from other growers, just like what Bruno was talking about with his action plan that he's trying to do. The growers can, see, yes, he watered here, but am I watering too much? They can see that real time on the graphics on the web page. So that has been very successful. It's growing, and Bruno, I think, has kind of picked up on it a little bit. Luan is another educator back east. I think he wanted some sensors, and he's going to try and get it started too. Some of the things out here in the Panhandle, the crops we grow, we have a wide variety of crops. Of course, we have corn, dry beans, sugar beets, winter wheat, millet, sunflowers, both oil and confections. Some soybeans are starting to show up, alfalfa, other forage crops, potatoes, peas. But the one crop that's still king out here is livestock. So by far, the beef industry does produce the most income out here. And again, we work with those folks. A lot of the cattle are brought in off the range during the winter, put on corn stalks to graze throughout the winter. One crop that we had that working with the specialists out of Lincoln, we had hops out here for 4 years, and that was kind of fun to do. And it's kind of sad to see when we had to take them out, but that's the way it is. Once the project's done, you move on. But the hops was a lot of fun to grow. Some of the things that I've done out here at the Panhandle, again, I am the water educator. Water management is a big thing. I put out a weekly crop water use figure for the Panhandle. That goes out to the different news agencies, so it's picked up by local papers, a regional weekly publication. It's put on Crop Watch, and Shin also puts it on his website. Water law is something I've been interested in. Water history, at least for the valley, at least for the North Platte River. Invasives, grasses and other broadleaf weeds. And you might say, well, what's that got to do with anything? Well, there are a lot of invasives out in Wyoming, a couple of grasses that we really need to be watching out for that could really impact our range and our grazing. I've written a number of articles on harvesting, on the sugar beets, the dry beans. You might have heard back in 2019, we had a tunnel fall in on one of our main ditches. The ditch broke out. The growers were without water for 44 days during the critical growing period. Just a week ago, this past Friday, we had another ditch. The other main ditch broke out. They've gradually filled it in. They are taking water back in that ditch. Again, I've worked with the 4-H folks a little bit. We do a wet program for the 5th graders for the area, for the Panhandle schools across the area. We bring them in over a 2-day period. My part of the program is to teach them a little bit about water history, a little bit about crop and plant water use, and that refers to your grass that you grow in your lawns, how much water that uses, where their water comes from. Once we are done with that, we like to have a little fun, and I like to show them how to set a siphon tube. And if any of you have seen one of these, you know what it is. If you haven't, you're in for a treat. So I'd love to show you how to set a siphon tube sometime. That's what I grew up doing a lot, probably said it thousands of times. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. They get wet. I ask if they want to see their teachers get wet, and they say yes. And the teacher's back there shaking their head, no. But it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of tours out here. We do some international tours. We've got one coming up next Friday. These are international tours for other countries who purchase our ag products. So it's very important that we show them the area, show them the crops we grow, and they are traveling clear across the state, as I believe that they're going to do. The Farm Bureau's been out here a number of times. Other groups put on tours and talks for them. With that, I guess I would ask if there are any questions for Bruno or myself about water management, or the WICS team.